Everyone, welcome to another Classic Movie Monday, and today I'm going to be looking into the 1902 short film titled A Trip to the Moon. This was made by a guy named George uh, Méliès. I think at least that's how you pronounce it in French. Um, and what actually makes this film rather unique is the fact that it was one of the first uh, narrative films. So, in other words, it was one of the first to really create a series of images that was part of sort of a little storyline. It's actually not too long. In other words, it's like roughly over 12 minutes, at least from what I could tell. Um, and basically, it follows none other than a trip to the moon by these various astronauts who are very excited to go there, and they find some unexpected things when they go onto the moon. Um, and it's very kind of out there and uh, almost like in an Alice in Wonder-like way. It has just bizarre aspects to it that you don't really find would be in any way, shape, or form be at least scientific. So, and this obviously goes to the fact that it tries to be sort of a fantasy type story because you'll see at one point how the moon has a face. And in particular, this film is noted for the image of the astronauts crashing into the moon's eye, because the moon has a face in this particular short film. And you'll also see how the moon has other things that we usually wouldn't attribute to the moon, like plants at one point, it looks like, um, even creatures. I don't know if you would technically call them aliens, I guess so. But they're on the moon too, so it kind of creates a little interesting mini story out of it. Um, and you sort of see a little conflict that ends up happening and how it sort of ends up being kind of resolved at the end, and sort of how they get off of the moon. Um, and what I think also is something that this film is noted for is its effects, as well as its designs of the sets and whatnot, because it looks, again, it has a very distinct and unique style that makes it, again, a lot more fantasy oriented, a lot more, um, I guess, outside of the box, so to speak, because it's not really designed to look so much realistic as it's supposed to sort of take you into sort of another world. And it's quite interesting how they sort of develop it with this short. And what I think what's very also important to note is that this short has sort of been utilized in other material, especially the moon face. That has been an image that a lot of people have sort of incorporated into their material throughout the years. I believe it's been featured in music videos, at least one I think I can think of. But it's primarily one that I think a lot of people look to because it was one of the first of its kind. And considering that this was made in 1902, I think it still stands out as being rather impressive um, as far as as far as the effects and um, the way in which they sort of approach the costumes and how again they tried to really experiment. And I think definitely the earlier 1900s it was more of a experimentation period for films, and I think that really does make sense because um, film wasn't really developed in the way that it sort of became developed even within around the 1920s, where you see more feature length filmmaking. So it's nice to see how this one sort of stands out and has sort of kind of lived on past its day, and having it be over 100 years old I think is quite fascinating and interesting. and I think makes it definitely, excuse me, worthy of recommendation. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say about it, though. It's just a cute little short film, and if you're interested in looking at some piece of history, it really is sort of looking into time, so to speak. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. But until next time, everybody, bye bye.